Hello and welcome back again to Rage Gaming and more Elden Ring. Today we're back for more things you might not have known about, largely tied of course to Shadow of the Erdtree, the DLC, but with the recent patch of 1.14 we do have a couple things to talk about with that, alongside some classic style stuff and a lot of silly things today too. So with all that said, let's begin. To kick today's episode off then, we're talking about what is now one of the strongest talisman, at least in my opinion. Certainly for PvE purposes, it's very good, and it's Rellana's cameo. As you can see, it enhances attacks executed after maintaining the same stance for a while. So while you would probably equip this with certain stance-based attacks, Ashes of War, that kind of thing, it wasn't always used or that relevant. And that was because the time to actually generate the enhancement was a little bit too long, and then the perk you got wasn't exactly amazing for a talisman slot. The actual numbers then have come to light. What they've done is they've reduced the delay for that damage enhancement from 1.5 seconds down to 1. And that's why if you've been dabbling with it since the patch, it's feeling so much quicker. In many cases, you activate your stance, and then I would say something like 0.5 to 0.7 seconds in, you probably want to send it immediately at that point. To delay it like 0.3 seconds longer, just so you get this damage buff, is actually not that bad, not that invasive at all, and allows you to regularly get that buff off for the attack you're choosing to do. The damage enhancement though is even bigger. Previously it was just 15%, now it's 45%. It's a massive buff to the damage you're doing, and the damage difference for a buff itself is pretty impressive. This is why weapons like Rellana's Twin Blades have become a lot more relevant, alongside, the specific buffs that weapon got. But take something that was already pretty damn respected as a DLC weapon, and relatively meta for PvE. That's the wing stance on Milady, the light greatsword. This has a unique interaction with Rellana's cameo that's now significantly better. And if you don't know this, I hope this helps. Basically with Milady and wing stance, you have two combos you can do. You hold the stance with L2 with a controller, and then you press a light attack to do a triple attack combo. Or you could do heavy to do that leaping thrust, which is so good for counter damage, pierce damage, and in general building up stagger. The little trick you might not have known about these is that you can combo them together. So you can do the light attack combo and then combo that directly into the heavy attack jump really smoothly. But did you know that if you hold L2 or your Ash of War button, the whole time you're doing these combos, the light attack combo and then the heavy jump, it maintains the buff from Rellana's cameo, that 45% damage increase. In fact, what you can do is continue to hold that Ash of War button and continuously use the light attack combo, the triple hit, over and over and over. You'll never lose the buff, meaning you don't have to wait that 1 second to get the buff back. It just keeps going. And then, when you're ready, you can throw out a heavy attack to finish it for the big damage that has, because even if you're holding L2, the animation ends, you have to lift the sword back up, and then you have to wait that 1 second again. So you only want to do that when you're done with the combo. This has basically changed the light attack combo wing stance and made it significantly higher on DPS, especially when you're working in successive hits. The result is an incredible output for this weapon, like a really subtle, massive buff for wing stance specifically. But of course, this will also apply to other stance stuff, and with this talisman, they're all significantly better, so yeah, pretty cool stuff. Next up then, we stand here at the Gate of Divinity, the final boss room of the DLC, and it is an incredible place because in the story cinematic, this is where we see Marika do the whatever the hell she was doing there. That's still a topic in itself. The point is, what we find when we actually have the final fight is that same place, but obviously a lot of time has passed and a lot of stuff has happened. Those bodies are all now basically charcoal and ash, and there's not so much gore and bloodiness going on. And this is the stairway that she literally walked up and held the rune above. What's a big disappointment, a lot of people have talked about for quite a while now, is the fact that this staircase, the gate, you want to go up there and you want to see what she was looking at. What was her view like when she was harnessing that power and caused that wind? But for whatever reason, they made it so you can't get up there. They've basically cut away part of the staircase, and yeah, it's really lame. So it's something that I've always thought about, and I knew people would eventually no clip up there and have a look, but it wasn't until recently that I saw a clip by the Reddit user Minai Yurei, who probably used some sort of cheat to get themselves up there. When you do this kind of stuff, you lose access to online play, and I enjoy the PvP in this game. So I rely on people like Minai to show me stuff like this, and yeah, I want to show it to you guys too. As you can see, at the top of the staircase isn't exactly anything special per se. There's no secret hidden thing or big lore reveal. All it really is an incredible view of the skybox of the game when you're above the clouds, when you're in Inner Elim. It's just kind of a flat surface that ends. But I think this is really cool. Even though it's obviously a cut off end that you're not meant to see per se, What's wrong with allowing us to go up there and stand up there and just take it in? Probably one of the most popular screenshots that would exist for the DLC for people to post, I did it, I beat Elden Ring, I beat Shadow of the Erdtree, I defeated Consort Radahn. It's a big moment, and it is a shame they don't let us see this normally without using some kind of cheat. I get that the edge is kind of weird and the floor is now like flattened, the texture's weird, but I just don't think it would have taken much for them to, add to that and allow us to stand up there and have this really cool skybox view. But yeah, just a cool thing I wanted to show you. All right, next up then we have one that's kind of like, I consider this Eldritch knowledge. Once you see this, you're not going to be able to go back, and it will result in you viewing this game as unplayable, so fair warning. You see that hole behind me in the top of this roof? We're in Inner Limb. It's, a 3D hole that's part of the design of the top of this building. If this game was playable, you'd be able to throw something through that, wouldn't you? Well, like I said, it's Eldritch knowledge, and as you can see, it's not playable. The game is not playable. In many cases around this horrific city, you will find gaps like this that you should be able to throw stuff through because satisfying, and you cannot because physical wall, and obviously the game is unplayable because of it. Bit of a meme post, but it's one of the most upvoted things on the Elden Ring Reddit this month, as posted by G Ben Flows, and this horrendous discovery. The hitboxes of this game are some of the best that I've seen in any game. It's super satisfying, especially some of the jump stuff, but yeah, it's not perfect. On the bright side, here's just a really dumb thing to follow up on that does work as totally was intended. There's a very important view you can create here at the Cathedral of Manus Mita, with everyone's favourite Count Ymir. If you position yourself nice and close to him while he's sat on his throne, you can turn the camera angle for a really important view. Here we can perfectly frame ourselves in the hole that is his hat. This is obviously vital knowledge that you probably didn't know. Though I was made aware of this actually by the Twitter user CA_CalciumMan. And this was a post made at the start of July with this incredible, pretty silly post by Calcium showing this POV, alongside some silly helmet options to really enhance this experience. The thing is, that post now has over 200,000 views, and something about it made me want to mention it in the series at some point. And with that silly Reddit post about the useless gap on the roof and how it's sort of false and doesn't work, something in my brain remembered this post. So there you go, one hole that's a lie and one hole that makes for the perfect view. Next up then, here's a fun and interesting one. After the launch of the original game, we eventually got these stat infographics about the bosses, spells, incants, that type of thing. Lots of different information. Interesting information about what was really the apparent hardest boss of the game, or, what claimed the most lives. What was the most popular approach to the game generally. So actually, we have one here for the DLC too, so why don't we take a look, since it was posted very recently. The first information we get is to do with Miquella's followers, and who used who to help them fight what boss. Apparently, the most popular Miquella follower summon that there was Dryleaf Dane with Romina, of all people, at 35%. Romina is a bit of an annoying boss, to be fair. Just having a summon to just kind of distract her and tank the hits so you can move in from behind, I'm sure would be useful. And I imagine Dane's a bit of a tanky one. I can understand the Dancing Lion and Freya just because she's the summon there, and, it's like the quote-unquote first main boss that you'll fight in the DLC. Getting help with that, I imagine a lot of people chose that. Here's an insane one. As it turns out, the blue guys, the Cerulean Coast and other areas too, these are officially called the Spirit Eel, and they have claimed just under 300,000 lives. The Spirit Eels. They turn red when you go near them and kind of like bonk like a club with their own head. And I guess they have that spew thing they do. I hardly count these as enemies. That is insane to me. I'm not sure I've ever even taken damage from one, even though obviously they try at times. Although obviously they could be talking about the explosive mine ones. I could see that a lot more. Here's an interesting one though. What are the most popular spells right now? Well, the 5th most popular DLC spell is somehow Mantle of Thorns, which is a very meme build that does very little, that I'm sure some people dabbled in, but that doesn't seem right to me. What does make sense to me are other things though, like the Rings of Spectral Light. Being able to throw loads of those out at once is pretty cool. Glintblade Trio is pretty good, especially in PvP with the delayed nature of them. Rellana's Twin Moons with their AoE, just a really cool visual spell. I think a lot of people who even pick it up will try it, and pretty cool detail about that is it moves you up into the air, so using a spell like that allows you to avoid certain ground quake abilities that you'd normally jump over. But outside of those, obviously the most relevant spell from the DLC is Impenetrable Thorns, because it was one of, if not the strongest build for quite a while there. I wonder how the numbers would look now though. Under that, we have the top 5 incantations, of course, and this pretty much makes sense to me. Golden Arcs being a popular one makes complete sense to me, as it is like nice burst DPS, comes out pretty quick, good both in PvE and PvP, I imagine. The new Pest Thread Spears being high makes complete sense too, as that leads to some of the highest DPS you can get on the bigger targets like Bale and so on. Then we have Midra's Flame of Frenzy, which is fair enough, but then the aspect of the Crucible Thorns, the one that kind of has you spin around and send them everywhere. I tried actually dabbling with that in the first days of the DLC, but have since never used it, so am I wrong? Is that actually good? I remember it being really weak. But at the top, to me, super obvious, one of the best incantation additions in all of the series is Knight's Lightning Spear. Something about that classic like Soul Air Lightning Spear. We always see it in every game, and they've added to it and added to it, and now with this DLC, we now have this really cool big one with the delayed hits after. The use of that cannot be understated, because even if they dodge the big one, the little ones might hit the target, and the damage there is great, but overall if you hit with everything, and the fact that lightning's so buffable, yeah, super potent. Under this, we have the top 5 Spirit Ashes from the DLC, and this is interesting to me, because it's not something I've ever really messed with. And at the top, we have Tailu the Golemsmith. I would have easily guessed that the best summon from the DLC would be Jolan and Anna, because having 2 targets that deal good damage, good DPS, you know, that's a really useful thing. At third, there was Demi-Human Swordsman Yosh. That also makes sense. As soon as I found that guy, I fell in love with him. It's super cute, this like dancing little Yoda guy. But Tailu the Golemsmith, is this a really like optimal strong summon? I just don't use them, so let me know. But yeah, that's the end of the DLC infographics. They do these at different times, and I like the different topics they go for, so we have to see what they choose next. Moving on then, our next thing is indeed certainly a thing, and it's another really silly, strange one. I saw this post on the Reddit, maybe a month ago now, so I thought maybe the new patch may have removed this, but well, I'll show you. As you can see, this post by Zenoverity showcases an incantation, Messmer's Orb, being used. They're slamming themselves against a wall and then showing you their face, which looks like it's kind of squelching itself. The top response is an image of a lemon being licked and the kind of scrunching that occurs when something like that happens, you know, instant sourness. And this is just what it looks like. But as you can see, when we slow it down, it does kind of pop back to normal. It's almost like an unfinished version of your face is being rendered during the cast of this incantation. And it's not until the animation is fully finished that your normal face returns. I thought it was just a funny clip and all that, but I was like, there's no way that survived like the last patch, right? It's not exactly a pressing issue, but here I am in-game with Messmer's Orb, the hefty incantation that requires 60 faith to actually use. It's that chargeable orb that's really cool that he tries to slam dunk you with at the start of the fight. So I'm going to position myself as best I can so that we can slam into the wall. As you can see, this is what my face normally looks like, and now let's try to slam into the wall. You'll see as soon as I start using the incant, my face changes, but it's not until we like actually get really close to the wall where you can see my face that there it is. If we slow that down, look at it. It's like my lips are just gone. 80% of them are just removed. My chin's completely gone too. The top bit where I've actually got the mask though appears to stay the same. Let's try and do it a little bit further away from the wall so maybe we'll get a better look at the face overall for a little bit longer. Yep, there you go. Honestly, this is my favorite kind of stuff to show in this series. Completely useless, really stupid, but you don't often find bugs like this in this game at this point. So yeah, did you know you could do that to your own face? Just be careful with the incantations you use. But there you have it, another episode of things you might not have known about in Elden Ring on the Shadow of Erdtree focus that we're doing. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know there was a lot of silly stuff today, but again, I do think that's some of my favorite stuff to show in this series. So yeah, I do hope you guys like that stuff. And you know, if you have anything of that nature or anything to add to this topic today, anything we talked about today, let us know in the comments. We might just talk about it in the next one. Until then, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.